to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Show here. Now then, when I last left off, Deku, him and Sue just hunted down a giant creature and took it out fairly easily, using an ambush tactic. Now, they also got the food prepared, along with now everyone's actually gotten their spirits up, as people are now up and about actually trying to figure things out. Deku, he is just trying to look through this book more, because the way they're cooking this food, essentially they're going to have too much, or they're not going to have enough. So he's trying to figure this all out. He's trying to go into this book, and he just starts flipping through the pages, as he does see something about salt, if not something about what looks to be a piece of meat. Really, well, I guess the right way you can say is, it looks very wrinkly. So he just starts trying to read about it. After about an hour or so, he finds that this is about drying your meats. You need to cut them up very thinly and very, very small. And then you need to basically let them dry out. You can do this with raw meat, or you can do it with cooked meat. But Deku, he doesn't really trust doing that with raw meat, especially because this is an alien creature. So he gets people to just start trying to slice it into smaller pieces. Now then, that is a bit challenging, but they would eventually get smaller and smaller chunks, and finally hang it up. Now then, they would be using this as a food source until the end of the weeks have passed. Deku, by the time of week 3, he's already actually gotten a bit better. He's able to see a lot better on the planet, he's able to hear a lot better because his senses have actually heightened, and he actually can run a bit faster. Now, he actually does ask people if they can follow him, as he would light a torch. He's a bit confused as to what might be in that temple, but he actually does want to figure it out. As Deku would walk in, and people are a bit more, well, this is the only shelter they have, basically. It's the only one place with a roof on the entire planet. So they would want to actually hide there, if not stay the night. Now, as people are walking through and going through it, eventually someone would walk past Deku and activate a tripwire. As soon as that happens, they would basically have an arrow get plunged, or if not shot out, and basically hit them in the shoulder, if not hit them in the face, or somewhere in the body region. But this would not be an easy wound. Well, this would not be an easy wound. It's very deep and bloody. Now, with that, people, they're a bit more freaking out, as Deku just tells everyone to stop moving and try and at least retrace their steps. People are turning around and basically trying to make their way out, as Deku, he is trying to help this kid to his feet and actually get this arrow out of his shoulder. But he would find that this wound is very deep, and from what the kid's screaming about, this thing is actually going through the bone in his shoulder. Now, Deku, he is still a bit hesitant to basically move. But as his eyes are adjusting, he actually does see the wire. He basically just announces to everyone that he sees the trap and basically to just leave, and he'll try and figure out what's going on. He would hand over the boy to other people as they would drag him out, and basically try and help him as best they can. Deku begins to walk around a bit as he's avoiding the wires that are on the ground and trying to look around. Eventually he does find one thing. It looks to be a primitive knife made of stone. It's not good, but it's better than what he already had. So he does just pick it up and put it down in his pocket, as he actually starts making his way out, avoiding the traps and doing all that. Now, Deku, he is actually trying to pay attention to what happened to this kid, as he actually does try. He would want to push the arrow further through to try and get it out of his shoulder, but that already does not sound like a good idea. So he would just try breaking it off, if not snapping it in half and helping the kid close the hole. But that is not going to happen. The kid would eventually die of infection. Now then, the rest of the time on the planet would pass, and eventually the Yaoja would arrive. They would actually award Deku by, well, giving him a small mark, as they would hold up a small vial that's green. One of the Yaojas would actually just basically dip in a metal brush, as the other one would just grab Deku, as they would put into his head the mark of the blooded, using xenomorph blood. Now, everyone would watch this and they're a bit more confused, as he's still trying to figure out what just happened. That actually hurt his skin. If not, that actually hurt a lot. Now, they would just walk over to Sue, and I want to say they wouldn't give her the mark, but they would just at least acknowledge her by just telling her to stand next to him, or at least get up next to him. And then they would lead the children onto the ship, as they would take off. They would know that the only reason they all survived was because of Deku, but they still have more challenges to face, as for the next couple months they'd begin training the children in actual ways of combat, if not teaching Deku how to use different forms of bow staffs, and actually how to use a bow and arrow. Now, for those of you who are wondering why a bow and arrow, hang on. For some reason, in I believe the universe where the predators are, I've seen them use a bow and arrow, and I don't know if it was explained or not, but I'm pretty sure in that universe, humans took that concept from the predators. So, I want to say they would at least teach Deku how to use one, along with the fact that they'd work on basic survival techniques, along with teaching all the other students that. Eventually, some of them, they'd be too tired to continue, and the Bad Bloods, they would just make examples. What I mean by that is they'd basically have the two weakest usually fight or do whatever they can against one another until the other one is defeated, dropping them off on the next planet to survive. Now, that may sound bad, but it's better than being jettisoned out of the airlock. With that, eventually the entire full year would pass, and Deku and everyone else is up to the age of 5, if not, I want to say 5.5. Now, they all know basic forms of survival, along with the fact that Deku, they know he carries this stone knife, but they don't really care, as they would drop them off at the next reserve. Deku, he is actually good at learning the Yacha language, and he actually does know how to translate it a lot faster and a lot better. In fact, I want to say he can basically speak it like he's basically bilingual. Along with the fact that he is actually stronger, because the conditions on the ship are made for Yacha. Everyone else does have a little bit difficulty breathing, except for Deku. Along with the fact that anytime they do stop on different planets, or do anything like that, or encounter other ships, it's usually just more Yacha. As they are dropped off on this planet, they find that this planet is actually a bit colder, and the conditions for it are a lot harsher. As everyone, they would just immediately begin by trying to not hunt down food, but it would be one of their top priorities. along with finding warmth, making a shelter, and actually getting things situated. Now, the harsh conditions are basically, I can attribute it to a snowstorm. Now then, with that, the Yautja, they would have prepared them, if not told them about this. Along with the fact that, as soon as they dropped them off, they just got out of there, like usual. Except this time, they would have given them 3 months to survive on this planet. Because if they can survive the rest of the winter, they should be fine. Deku, he just gets to quick work, as he just tells everyone that he's going to go try and explore a bit. As they do basically give them small standardized gear. Not a lot. Basically, small knives, if not just bow weapons, that they know they would sharpen into spears. Very primitive style of tech. Now, Deku, he is looking around, but he does actually have to bring his hand up in front of his face to make sure he can see. And as he actually is looking down at his arm, it actually is getting a lot hairier as he does get warmer. That's great. Now, Deku, I want to say after about an hour or two, he would stumble upon a cave, and he would basically alert everyone else, as they would start heading in his direction. They would just be, well, I want to say the way he would alert them is, he would probably, I want to say the Yautja could probably give them flares to use that burn very bright, or they could probably be using radios, but radios I could see them being interfered with by the storms. So I want to say that they would at least use flares, if not certain ways to navigate. Deku would eventually find everyone once again, as they would be lugging around firewood and actually just come to the cave. They would work on getting the cave closed up, if not actually just moving things around. Now, with that being said, they would eventually, not close off the cave, but they would just find a way to at least make sure the exit is able to stay closed, so that wind and snow is not being blown in. Along with the fact that Sue, she is a bit comatose. They would have gotten to the cave, and they would have actually gotten warm, as Sue actually just started coming to consciousness. She's just asking what's going on, and Deku would just say they're on a snow planet this time. As soon as they landed, she passed out. Oh. Hibernation. Okay. Wait, you hibernate? Yes, usually. Or just stay inside and take classes online. No. I just realized that is a very big plot hole. Now, Deku, hearing that Sue actually does hibernate, he does realize that that's not a very good part to her quirk, but her quirk is good. So, they would at least start a fire and actually try getting things situated to where the airflow can properly move the smoke out of the cave. Now, with that being said, they would all try working on hunting, but it's basically they're about to have, their body temperatures are too low and they're actually all cold and freezing. So Deku would just work on one thing. He would go outside, since he's the only one who seems to be able to, and try finding something. As he would basically push a giant rock in front of the entrance, basically making it to where you have to be able to see the smoke coming out to find them. Now, he actually is wandering around a little bit, as he does have his spear and his knife. He would eventually find something to wrap these two together, as he would make himself an actual good spear. With that, he is walking around and trying to find food. if not something hairy, because he does know that since he's adapting these environments, whatever is on this planet is the same. So he is just walking around and trying to pay attention. Eventually, he would come across a predator, not a Yaoja. I want to say this thing looks like a tiger, but it does have more than 2 eyes. It does somewhat walk upright, with the fact that it can come on its legs and actually run like that. Along with that, this thing does look a bit bigger, if not a little more slender, like a panther. So Deku, as soon as he sees that, he would just immediately take off running. This thing would give chase, as Deku would eventually leave it back to the cave, and he would just jump right into the hole. As this thing immediately just tries to claw in and basically swipe at whatever it can. Deku, as soon as he gets in, would immediately turn around, jabbing his spear up into the thing's eye, as it would immediately turn and run away. Everyone's asking Deku if he's okay, and he would just say that he's fine, it's just he saw it before it saw him. But that's not good. This place is a lot more lethal than the other one. In fact, there's actual challenges here. So surviving is going to be a bit more difficult. But as Deku just sits down, they're going to have to wait that thing out. How do you know? Because I can still smell it. What does it smell like? Blood. Now, eventually they would wait it out, and their fire is actually running a bit low. Deku would toss more logs in, as people are still waiting. Eventually, I want to say through exploring the cave a little bit, they would actually find a way where the cave wraps around the mountain. And Deku would just navigate everyone to, well, get into positions. Deku would go outside as he tells them to try and get its attention. I want to say someone with an extendable arm quirk, or a different quirk. They'd be able to at least try and capture its attention by sticking his hand out, or at least mimicking movement. This thing would see it, and as soon as it would lunge, Deku and a group of people would immediately just start throwing their spears at it, as they would actually hit it and damage it, stabbing into not only some of its arms and parts of its body, but actually just basically making it collapse to the ground, as it does try and get back up and running. But Deku and 2 other people would just smash it up against a tree as they would take it down, actually getting some proper food. With that, Deku, he would get to work on actually preparing things and getting things ready for what they're going to do, as he does try and divide up parts of this creature for everyone to use, using its teeth for basically sharpened tools, using its claws to cut things, and using his knife to actually just skin the creature, skinning it and actually making some warm clothes. With that being said, Deku, he would just keep the head as he could wear it as his hat, if not at least mimic the predator's face. With that, everyone is actually getting ready, and they're actually eating, as they are just getting ready for the next predator, if not the next way to defend themselves. As they would just move logs in front of the entrances and just figure out good ways to get in and get out. With that being said, that is where I'm going to leave things off of, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. I will catch you guys in the next part.